The NBA was back in action last night with a slate of playoff games, including the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic. Those two teams were supposed to play Wednesday when the Bucks walked out to protest the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The walkout by those NBA players led to similar actions by athletes in other sports leagues, professional and college, including those not dominated by African-American players. It was the most striking example of professional athletes demonstrating a willingness to use their celebrity and economic power to leverage social change. And joining me now, our former NBA player Etan Thomas and current WNBA All-Star Sue Bird, who is also the vice president of the Women's National Basketball Players Association. Etan and Sue, welcome to both of you to Meet the Press. Etan, I want to start with you. This week we saw this groundswell. Some call it a boycott, a wildcat strike, if you will. The number of teams that participate, I want to put up on screen, 9 playoff games, 11 baseball games postponed, 6 WNBA games, 4 NHL playoff games, the MLS, the NFL, even college practices. What made this different, Etan? What do you think made it where the sports world united?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on today. And it's interesting because now after everything has happened, you're seeing a lot of people criticizing the NBA players for voting to go back to playing after their 2-day strike or boycott, like you said, or however you want to call it. And I just honestly think that's ridiculous. They have gone above and beyond the call of duty, both the NBA and the WNBA, and with the MLB standing in solidarity. They made their powerful statement heard really around the world. And they did it all together. And then they formulated the Social Change Fund. And they're going to be focused on advocating for police reform and police accountability and voting initiatives and criminal justice reform and a lot of great things. So they're doing their part. But it's also not the job of professional athletes to solve the policing problem that we have in this country. That should be the focus of all the people that we just saw at the Republican convention this past week. And I would say, instead of Donald Trump screaming law and order at the American citizens exercising their right to vote, to protest, that he should be screaming police accountability. But I bet we probably won't hear that.
Sue Bird, a boycott, it takes money out of the hands of owners, takes money out of the hands of sponsors, takes money out of the hands of leagues. And I assume that there is an intention there that, okay, we want you to be paying attention. What role do you want to see owners and sponsors of sports leagues play? Because you're sending a message to them, too.
Right. I do think the WNBA is in a unique position in that we have a lot of support from our owners. In fact, I know myself, a bunch of other players from other teams got calls directly from their owners saying, we support whatever you want to do. So I think a lot of it is more so about, like you said, the corporate sponsors, trying to get them to understand where we stand, what we believe in, what we're fighting for. But this isn't new for us. We've been doing this for years and years and years. And I think what was so special about this moment was an opportunity, like Etan said, for all of these leagues to be unified. And that's when, we've learned in the WNBA, when we're unified as one voice, that's where the impact is felt for us. So to have all these leagues together, I mean, you've seen what's happened. Again, like Etan said, it's been around the world.
I want to put up a quote from Natasha Cloud of the Washington Mystics. She said something very interesting. She goes, the T-shirts, the courts, the names in the back of the jerseys, the media blackouts, to only talk about Breonna Taylor and say her name and to say his name, those things are all important. But while we're talking about it, there are still black men and women being killed every single day. And so at what point do we take a stand? And at what point do we be drastic? Etan, I got to think you understand that feeling that Natasha's expressing there. It's sort of like, we just talked about it. They're doing a lot, but there are some players that feel as if they're still not doing enough.
Well, you always want to do more. And just to make the point clear, this has nothing to do with being for the police or against the police. That's just the right redefining the issue. Give you an example. Me and my wife have been blessed to have 3 beautiful children. And it's not anti my children for me to hold them accountable. It's actually pro my children for me to do that. Anti them would be for me to say they can do whatever they want to do. So, for instance, I love my baby Sierra. That's my girl. But if baby Sierra came to me and said, Daddy, I want to have chocolate chips for dinner, I wouldn't be supporting her by telling her that she can go have chocolate chips for dinner. You know what I mean? That's not supporting her. And Trump and the right believe that you have to allow the police to do anything that they want to do, and then that equals supporting them. And every aspect of society needs rules and regulations. Applauding someone and saying everything that you do is wonderful is not supporting them. It's actually enabling them. And, so I would say Trump is actually acting more anti-police than what he's claiming to be.
Sue Bird, do you understand Natasha's feeling there about wondering, okay, should we be doing more? Is there something more drastic we should be doing in our positions of influence?
Yeah, I do, because, this is a unique experience being in this bubble, or wubble as we like to call it. And you're around 144 other players for our league. And so in listening to these Black players talk about their experiences, how emotionally, mentally, you name it, draining it's been, and how, to be honest, traumatizing and re-traumatizing. To see a man shot in the back 7 times. I think it brings up a lot, and rightfully so. And what happens is you feel, like Etan said, it's never enough. You want to do more. And I think what was great about having us all here, getting us all together, we got to talk through these things and understand it takes time. And all you can do is what we've been doing. We've actually been doing the work. And to be honest, I've had a front row seat with, my girlfriend, Megan Rapinoe. She took a knee 4 years ago. It took 4 years for that to come back around. So personally, for me, I like to share that message with the players, because while it doesn't feel like you're doing enough, and while people are going to come at you and be like, well, what are you going to do about it? You have to find solace in the fact that we actually are doing the work.
Etan, you probably discovered this as an active player. Speaking out in the NBA as individual players was a bit more common. You didn't see it a lot in the NHL and in Major League Baseball. And I just wonder, how important do you think that here's 2 sports that are whiter, and certainly their fan bases are very white, the importance of having the sports world united across racial lines?
Oh, it's definitely important, especially in these times. Right now, when you see from the right, there's so much a divisive type of a tone. Just looking at the Republican National Convention, everything is divisive. And so when sports has the opportunity to be able to bring people together. And so it's a matter of empathy. So some of these sports that you say, as you say, are whiter, they might not be dealing with the same things that I'm dealing with as a Black man in this country, and people have to understand, every single time that something like this happens, the conversation that happens in Black homes, I have my son Malcolm is 15. He just turned 15 years old, and I'm terrified for him. Like literally every single time something like this happens, I can't sleep at night. And I have to go and tell him again, the rules of engagement. When you're stopped by the police, make sure that you have no sudden movements, that, you have to de-escalate a situation that you didn't escalate in the first place. And the only reason why it's escalated is because of the color of your skin. So you can't do what you see your white friends doing, because they can cuss out the police. They can go off. They can do whatever they want to do. They cannot comply, everything like that. And they will get to live. And that's a tough situation to be in. So when you're hearing athletes, a lot of people are saying, well, why is LeBron feeling so emotional about this? Why is everybody feeling? Because the fact that you are making millions of dollars in the NBA doesn't save you from being Black. And that's the difference. So when the policeman pulls me over, I have to follow a set of guidelines. It doesn't matter what I've accomplished in life or who I am or, what tax bracket I'm in or anything like that. I'm a Black man and I'm a threat.
Sue Bird, very quickly, we heard some politicians don't like it when the sports world speaks out on social issues. What do you say to those critics?
For me as a female athlete, the one thing that I've come to realize is we're judged on everything except our sport. We've been judged because we're Black, gay, because we're women. Nobody talks about us playing. So you fast forward, 10, 20 years of this, and we've developed an identity, and we're being authentic to it. And so for us, when people say stick to sports, it's kind of like, yeah, 20 years ago we tried, you wouldn't let us. And now you're saying that? So it makes no sense to me.
Sue Bird, Etan Thomas, I really appreciate both of you coming on, expressing your perspectives on this. It's a conversation that I hope continues.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.